I mean, that's not how we were meant to live. We were not meant to live with Instagram perfect pictures, right? Where life is perfect, life is great, everything is taken care of, I have no worries, I have no concerns, and I'm in this safe, perfect environment. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome, 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 welcome. You know what time it is. We need some theme music here, right? To get us going. You know what time it is. It's time for Life of a CISO with yours truly, Dr. E. The E-Dog is in the house. Hope you are doing awesome and you are rocking and rolling and crushing it in all areas of your life. One of the topics that comes up a lot is this idea of CISO versus vCISO. So that's what I want to talk about in a little bit. But before I get there, one of the themes that has been coming up a lot in my group coaching and my private coaching is this idea, are you really living your dream, or is your career a trap? Is your career a cage that's holding you back? Recently, a friend of mine went to the zoo with his family, and he took a picture of this beautiful area. It was an enclosure for one of the animals, and it had these beautiful rocks, beautiful landscape. I mean, it just looked picturesque. There was a waterfall in the background. There was just like this picturesque scenery. And it just showed the animals sitting in the center, just sort of lethargic and not doing a lot. And he wrote me and said two questions. Do they know they're in captivity? And are they really happy? Right? And my response back is, from our perspective, it looks like they're happy because everything is taken care of, right? They are probably, from a safety standpoint, in one of the safest places. If you're in a zoo, your survival rate is off the charts. You get doctors that can take care of you 24/7 if you get sick, right? Medical care. You get food. You get the perfect diet. You get the perfect environment that's safe. No other animals are coming after you. No hunters or poachers are trying to kill you. So if you look at it, it's probably one of the safest environments on the planet. But the question is that what those animals were born to do? Were they born to just be safe? Were they born to say, okay, let's just live a boring, safe life, but live as long as we can? Or if these animals could really talk, would they rather say, you know something? I'd rather only live half the age that I'm going to live in the zoo, but I lived my life. I hunted, I ran, I explored, I challenged, I lived on the edge. I lived life on my terms. And I bring that up because when I look at that picture, I'm reminded of so many people based on their jobs and their careers are in cages. Just look at social media. Look at Instagram. The pictures that most people post are them in a cage. It's this perfect, well-lit environment where they got the perfect outfit on. They're posed, right, just so perfectly, and it's a professional, and they have everything set out accordingly, right, showing that they're good and safe and comfortable, right? It's in a beautiful house with a potential really nice car, right? And that attractive spouse right next to you. And it's sort of a caged animal. I mean, that's not how we were meant to live. We were not meant to live with Instagram perfect pictures, right? Where life is perfect, life is great, everything is taken care of, I have no worries, I have no concerns, and I'm in this safe, perfect environment. And that explains why when you look at so many of these people, they're not really happy. They're not really enjoying life because guess what? Humans were not meant to dress up in perfect clothes, be in a perfect house, and have perfect cars. We're meant to go and have some fun, right? We're meant to roll around in the mud, right? Get dirty. But it's funny because you don't see any of those pictures, right? You don't see the pictures where the person's sweaty, the clothes are dirty, or they're just out there having fun, running around in the rain, right? Because guess what? Those are not the safe pictures that they think everyone wants to see. But my question is why? Why we become a society of safety? Why become a society of possessions where if you go in and achieve a certain title at a certain company with a certain amount of salary and you have a certain house and a certain amount of vacation funds and a certain amount of savings, you hear this phrase all the time. And I hear this from a lot of my friends, especially as you get more successful, you grow older. Eric, I'm set. I'm set for life. I don't have to work. I don't have to do another thing, and I'm taken care of. That sounds a lot like that caged animal if it could talk, where it's safe, right? It's set for life. An animal in a zoo is set for life. But is that really the life it was meant to live? So I ask you, what would be a fulfilling life to you? And I want you to go beyond titles and salary. Because when I do one-on-one coaching, I'll spoil it if any of you decide to join that higher end program, that's going to be the first question I ask you. And most likely, the answer you give is not what I'm looking for. So I'll always, when I start a new coaching client, what do you consider a fulfilled life? What do you consider a life well lived? And most of the time, their initial response to me is, oh, I'm making $1 million a year. I'm working as a CISO at a Fortune 50 company. I'm well respected. My family is healthy, and maybe a couple of other factors. And I'm like, so if you had that, would you just maintain that? So like today, if you were making that, so let's say today you said a fulfilled life is making $1 million. What if you were making $1 million today? And you said respected by your peers. What if you're respected by your peers? And you said family healthy. What if your family's healthy? And you said a certain house and lifestyle. Great, you have all that. So are you saying you're just going to maintain that for the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years? That you're not going to continue growing or expanding or going to the next level? And most of them, when I say that, they sort of pause because they didn't think about that. Remember, we as humans were meant to grow. We were meant to expand. So one of the things you've heard me say, and I'm very big at, is how quick is your current expansion level versus the past? One thing I want you to do is go back, and you can go back as far as you can remember. So you can go back to 10 years old, 15, 20. But I just want you to go in and plot your income. How much were you making at 15? How much were you making at 20? 25, 30. And then the last 5 years, I want you to do yearly. So if you're 40, you'd say, how much are you making at 15? How much money you were bringing in at 20, 25, 30, 35, and then 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. And I want you to say, what does that curve look like? Because for most of us, the early curve is a pretty steep exponential curve. And as we get older in life, and as we get more comfortable in life, it starts to flatten a little bit. It starts to get a little flatter, and at some point, it almost becomes a straight line. It stops growing. And I will tell you, with most people, that's where they usually start having frustration. You have maybe what you call a midlife crisis. You start losing sight of what's important. You lose sight of your purpose. That's often when they engage me or they call me up when they get to that point. Now, they don't realize what's happening, but what's happening is all of their needs have been met. They are surviving at an optimal level. They are essentially set. They can continue to survive for the rest of their life. They don't have to worry about survival and don't have to worry about their needs. Their needs and surviving, for the most part, I mean, there's always unforeseen events, but for the most part, are basically taken care of, if not for the foreseeable future, for the rest of their life. And now they're at this unusual point where they're stuck because they're like, well, there has to be more. There has to be more to life. And what you'll find starts happening there are a couple of shifts. One, you shift from surviving to thriving, where now it's not just surviving, but how can I thrive at an exponential level? The second shift is you shift from needs to wants. So it's no longer what you need, it's what do you want? I know you don't need a sports car, I know you don't need a G6, but if you want it, why not? Why can't you have what you want? There's unlimited amount of abundance in the universe. You having a sports car doesn't hurt anybody else. It doesn't take away from anybody else. So why can't you have what you want? And many people struggle with wants. They struggle with, well, I feel bad or the way but all of that is, my friends, that's just the old surviving mentality. Those are old limiting beliefs that were there for you to survive. For you to move from surviving to thriving, you basically have to do an identity shift. You basically have to change how you view yourself. And most importantly, you have to get rid of a lot, if not all, of your current beliefs. Because here's the reality. Your current identity and your current belief structure that you have right now is creating the current life that you have. So if you're a security engineer, your current beliefs believe you're a security engineer. If you're a deputy CISO and you're making $200K a year, that's because your current identity and belief structure believe you're that. If you want to become someone different, if you want to make more money, if you want to have a different title, if you want to have a different lifestyle, you're going to have to change your beliefs and corresponding identity of who you think you are. Because until you change, you're going to continue creating the same reality that you currently have. And that's why I always joke, I always give them, when they come to me for coaching, the first couple months is very unusual because I tell them, I'll give you what you want. You want to become a CISO at a Fortune 50 company. But I can't teach you how to do that unless you start identifying as that person. And the only way we can identify as that person if we change your belief structure that created the current version of you. So I do a lot of weird things that they're like, but Eric, I just came to you to be a CISO. I'm like, yeah, but you can't become somebody you're not, and you can't become somebody different than who you are today unless we change your beliefs and change your identity. So that's the key piece that you need to start thinking about and working on is who do you need to become? Because I love, there's all these books out there, Start With Why. Great book, like why do you need it? If your why is strong enough, you'll run through walls to do it. I agree with that. And there's always things that go in and say, focus on what you want, not how to get it, right? Just let the universe deliver. That's sort of behind the thinking of where you go in the manifestation of, if you just think about what you want and focus on it, don't worry about it, it's automatically going to happen. But when everybody misses, and maybe it's going to be one of my next books, is focus on who. Who do you need to become? Who do you need to think and act like in order to become the person that's going to achieve the goals that you want? And it's going to require belief structure because the exercise is simple. You start writing down who you currently are. This is the piece that many people miss. If you don't know where you're currently at, then how do you know how to navigate to where you're going? So everybody jumps in to where they want to go, but they don't start with where they are. So a simple example is, what if I tell you I want to go to New York. I want to go and visit New York City. Give me directions. Well, what do you need to know to give me directions? Where I'm starting from. Because if I'm in Boston, I'm going to have you drive south. If you're in Georgia, I'm going to have you drive north. So it's sort of important that I know where you're starting from, because if I think you're in Boston, but you're really in Georgia, and I tell you to drive south, you ain't making it to New York. right? So starting point is so critical. So who are you currently today? And what are your current belief structures? Now, this is easier than you think because the universe has given us a beautiful gift. There's this beautiful recursive thing that happens in life, which is who you think you are and what you believe and what you think and your thoughts create your current life. So if you look at your current life, that will tell you what your beliefs are and who you think you are. Whatever you're making, whatever your title is, whatever your status, that is who you currently identify with. And everything that's created in your life is based on a group of beliefs that surround that. So write those down. Then write down who do you need to become. If you want to be a CISO for a Fortune 50 company, if you want to be a world-class CISO, who do you need to become for that to happen? And then once those are there, then what are the new beliefs that you need to have in order to become that person? This is where modeling other people can help. And this is where a lot of my coaching comes in. What a lot of people who hire me as their coaches, they want to have certain things that I have. They want to achieve what I'm at in terms of job, position, income, or others. So why not better than hire the guy that has what you want? Right? That's why I always joke is when you're picking coaches, choose wisely. There's a lot of coaches that say they can help you become a millionaire, but they're not a millionaire themselves. Now, I'm not saying that they haven't learned the strategy, but my whole thing is if you're going to coach me on something, you should have achieved the results before me. If you haven't achieved the results that I wanted, then why would I hire you to coach me? Right? So hiring coaches, or this is where biographies and autobiographies come in, find successful people who have accomplished what you wanted or part of what you wanted, and then read about what their belief structure is. If you go in and you look at the belief structure of Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Oprah Winfrey, one of their core beliefs is they truly believe they're unstoppable. They believe they can do anything they want and that they're truly limitless and nobody can get in their way. They truly believe that. Well, if you truly believe that you're unstoppable, then you're going to achieve the things that they did. If you don't believe that, if you believe there's limitations and goals and holdback and you see all this stuff about, oh, there's these glass ceilings, or, I can't do this or I can't do that because I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, which none of it is true, but people more conveniently would like to create those limiting beliefs to justify why they're stuck than to accept the fact that you're really stuck because of you. Nobody is holding you back. Nobody is limiting you from being the best version of you. Only you are. Your identity and your belief structure are your limiting beliefs. So just start really identifying, and this isn't something that takes a minute or an hour. It can take days, weeks, months, or years. But I just want you to start thinking about who you currently are, the belief structure around it, and who you need to become to be the best version of yourself. And now we move into the topic that everyone asks is, what is the difference between a CISO and a vCISO? A Chief Information Security Officer and a virtual Chief Information Security Officer. At one level, there's not a lot of difference. You're basically providing strategic direction to the company with an overall roadmap and guiding and directing the company to make sure that they're properly secure. The big difference between the two is a CISO is employed by one company and is responsible not only for the creation, but the execution of that security plan. So you only focus on one company. You are paid 100% by that company. Typically, you can't work for other companies, and you're not only responsible for creating and educating the executives, creating the risk posture, and putting together a plan, but you also are responsible for the day-to-day execution of it. You're also responsible typically for all the other components, intrusion detection, incident response, data loss prevention, all the other pieces. So it's a very comprehensive role. A vCISO, on the other hand, you're typically fractional or part-time. So you'll work for a company 5 or 10 hours a week. You typically work for many companies. So you might have 5 or 10 clients, and you essentially go in, answer any questions the executives might have, and focus on building an overall strategic plan, looking at and managing the overall risk, but then you hand it off. Usually to internal IT or somebody within the company that is responsible for the execution, delivery, management, and all those other factors. So typically, with a vCISO role, you don't have a team that reports to you. You might have a team you hand things off to, but you don't typically do the day-to-day management of the team, the implementation, and the other details. So a lot of it really depends on what are you most interested in. If you're most interested in the execution of a plan, the day-to-day management, and making sure the organization stays secure and stays in a secure state and constantly adapting, modifying, and changing the plan on a day-to-day basis, if that's what you really enjoy, then a CISO is probably the best role for you, because that's going to let you really delve into that. A vCISO, not so much. A vCISO, you're not really going to get in to the day-to-day handling of matters. On the other hand, if you love the strategy piece, if you love sort of understanding the organization, building out a risk profile, building out a high-level strategy, making sure the strategy is complete and complex, having milestones, deliverables, and what needs to be done over the next 6, 9, or 12 months, and that's what you enjoy, and you don't really enjoy the implementation and day-to-day management, then vCISO is probably the better role for you. So that's sort of at a high level, really the big difference between them. They're both doing similar things. One is focused on just giving the organization a high-level roadmap and handing it off, the vCISO. Another one is focusing on one company, one enterprise, one problem set, knowing it inside and out, building a roadmap, and then focusing on the implementation and details of it. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. Second thing to keep in mind is the income structure. Typically with a CISO, depending on the size company and how big, and if you're truly a CISO sitting at the executive level, you'll probably be making somewhere in the 500 to 750 range, with anywhere from 100 to a 300K bonus. That's if you're working for large scale Fortune 100, Fortune 50 company. Smaller companies, it might be less, but that's sort of the higher end. So with a CISO, you're probably going to be capping out at about $1 million. I don't know any CISOs that are making 5 or 10 or 15 million, right? That's just not feasible, right? It's just not how the role works, not how it operates. But you have your standard hours, your standard entity that you work for, but just realize there is sort of a cap to what you're going to be earning there. vCISO, you're basically an entrepreneur. You're basically running your own company. So it's sort of the sky is the limit there. So you could go in a vCISO depending on how much you want to work. That's the other factor. I have friends of mine that just don't like to work that much. They only want to work 10 or 15 hours a week, but that's not going to work with a full-time job. Right? If you only want to work 15 hours a week, that's not going to work as a salary job. But if you're a contractor, consultant, or vCISO, you just take on 2 or 3 clients. So if you take on 3 clients where you're giving each one 5 hours a week, right? Boom, 15 hours a week, you're good. And then if you want to make more money, you take on 6, 7, 8, or 9 clients. So because you control how much you want to work, how many clients you want to take on, you really can grow that. I mean, I know some folks running vCISO businesses 200 or 300K because that's all they want. They want a lot of free time. I know some that are running it as sort of a singlepreneur, making 1.5. And I know some that have sort of grown it where they have 6 or 7 employees that they all train up on a set methodology. They put them out as vCISOs, and they're making 8 to 10 mil a year. So it's really a lot more flexibility, but you have a lot more responsibility because you're running a company, responsible for payrolls, benefits, and all those other factors. But I will go in and throw this little curveball, and you'll definitely see my bias. Everybody always says, oh, work for a big company because you have stability. Right? If you work for a big company as a CISO, you basically are set for life. You could leave, but they're not going to get rid of you, right? It's stable, safe, stable job. You know you're getting paid every month. You know you have a job. You know you have an income. So there might not be a lot of growth, but there's a lot of security and stability. However, 2 things. One, I think we've seen lately with companies and the economy and how it works is that's no longer the case. These big companies that you used to say, oh, if you work for company X, you're set for life, right? They're never going to fire you. They're laying off in masses. They're firing people. So the loyalty is gone. It used to be if you work for a big company, they're loyal to you, you're loyal to them. Not so much. So you lose a lot of that benefit on the CISO of having a loyal company, guaranteed paycheck, because they can get rid of you at any moment. CISO, vCISO, you have multiple clients. So with a vCISO, if you lose one client, you got 2 or 3 others. You might not be making as much as you thought you did, but you're still making money. With CISO, because you're working for one entity or one organization, you lose that client, you're done. You have no income. So to me, the Cisco is riskier, right, even though it's not supposed to be. And then add in the Chief Information Security Officer piece, and it becomes real risky because unfortunately, it shouldn't be the case. If I train you, I will teach you company how to break the current mold. But unfortunately, most companies today believe they're not supposed to have a breach. And if they do have a breach, they immediately assume the CISO didn't do their job and they fire their CISO. I think you've seen this over and over and over again. So not only is working for one company, to me, riskier than working for yourself, but being a CISO is even riskier because if you work for a company and they have a breach or they have a compromise, no matter what you did, you could have told them about it, you could be 0 fault, you could be 100% transparent with them on what was going on. Doesn't matter. Somebody has to fall on the sword and it's going to be you. So CISOs working for big companies are even a little riskier because the probability of turning over every 2 to 3 years is pretty high. However, one of the hidden gems is there's not a lot of people that are seasoned CISOs. There's not a lot of people that can say they've been a CISO for a Fortune 100 company. There's not a lot of CISOs that can say they've been a CISO for a Fortune 500 company. So if you've had that distinction, you're very employable. So if you, for some reason, decide to leave or you get fired, it's not the end of the world because I can guarantee you'll probably have 2 to 3 offers by the end of the week. So you're very employable. You just might be switching jobs a little more frequent. To me, my viewpoint is I believe everybody was meant to have wealth and abundance. Everyone was meant to control their income. And therefore, everyone at some level was meant to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs, yes, there's more risk and focus, but you are now in control of your destiny. You can grow and expand the business and make more money. You could work less and make less money, but you're in control. As opposed to working for somebody else, you lose a lot of that control. Now, not everyone is aligned with me. And I know there's a lot of people that go, Eric, I hear what you're saying, but I still think there's a little more stability on the CISO side than the vCISO, and I will agree with it from this standpoint. As a CISO, once you get a job, all you have to do is worry about cybersecurity. You don't have to worry about marketing, sales, branding, or anything else. If you're a vCISO, while you're delivering the services that you love to do, while you're going in and delivering the cybersecurity services, you still have to market. You still have to sell, because you could lose any of those clients at any moment, or maybe you want 5 clients a month and you currently only have 4, so you need to market and pitch and get another 5th or 6th client. So there is a lot more work there. So there is more back-end work on skills you might not enjoy as much, but are as critical to do. My whole philosophy is I would try to get a job where you can moonlight. You can work on the side. Some companies allow you to do that. Like my company, we don't. If you work for me, you need to be focused and dedicated, because we have a lot going on and I can't have you distracted by working another job. Some companies don't have that limitation or restriction. So find a job where you can do what you love, but also work on the side, and then start a small vCISO business, 1 or 2 small clients, and see how you like it. And then try to grow it. If you grow it, great. If you don't grow it, you can stick with the CISO, but I believe everyone should try both. Try being a CISO, try being a vCISO, because you might have certain limiting beliefs on which one you like, and the reality is, once you start doing it, you might actually enjoy it more than you realize.